I would like to call to order the November 12th, 2020 City of Southport Board of Aldermen meeting. Welcome to all of you who are in attendance and those watching at home. Our invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend Lo Davis, she could not be with us tonight. She says she has, and I quote, the common cold and did not want to spread it to anyone else. I did ask her for her invocation, and I will deliver it on her behalf, and then we'll go into the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. That probably was her shortest sermon ever. The next item on the agenda, item D, is public comment. Madam Clerk, do you have the list?
Mr. Woody Wilson.
Welcome, Mr. Wilson. If you'll turn on the microphone, you take off your mask, state your name and reason you're here, and thank you for being here.
Well, Mayor, Alderman, and all those assembled here tonight, I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you and speak on a subject. I understand the Aldermen are going to talk tonight, or maybe discuss tonight, the one-way traffic situation on Short Street. And I live at 502 West Brunswick Street, which is at the corner of Short Street and Brunswick. I've been there for a little over 17 years, and I've seen the traffic come and go, and mostly increase because of the development and the new residents that are coming into Southport. When this change came about, it was done purely from a safety standpoint of looking at what the street produced in traffic, where the traffic was going, and how fast it was going. And quite frankly, what you've done is a good decision as far as the safety of the road network is right now. It's not a total solution by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a step in the right direction, and you originally made a good decision. That decision being that the road goes from West Street down to Brunswick Street. Now, just Monday, for example, I'm coming down the street the correct way. I have a two-car garage that entrance and exits on Short Street. I'm getting ready to turn into my garage, and a lady comes around in her SUV, and she was not speeding, I don't think, but she had to slam on her brakes because there's no way she could have not seen the one-way sign. She had to be totally unconscious if she didn't see the one-way signs up there. But she had to slam on her brakes, and I didn't move. I made her back up, which was fine. She backed up and went around on Brunswick Street. That goes on rather routinely. The traffic that's on Short Street right now, it varies from residents, tourists, kids being walked, dogs being walked, skateboards, and occasionally a semi-truck goes up there and rips out the limbs and you know what they normally do when they come through town. So we've still got work to do with traffic management and traffic control down there. Our police department is every time I call the police department, and I generally try not to do it because I know we pester him to death, but I tell you something about your police chief. I had to call him one night because there was a tour bus blocking Brunswick Street the wrong way because they had decided they wanted to go to the gazebo. The tour bus stops, blocks the street. The cars going the correct way had to run up into Peggy Campbell's yard, and that's not fair. She's got a nice yard out there. They run up in the yard to get around the tour bus. And so I called the police chief, He just happened to be in Washington, D.C. on a vacation, but he answered the phone, and we got some things moving. So when I tell you that we're getting all the support we need down there, we get great support out of the Southport Police Department, and we appreciate everything they do for us. Having said that, I would invite any alderman and any of the other people that are complaining about Short Street being this direction, the direction it is currently in, to come sit on my front porch from Thursday to Sunday evening and just watch what goes on. You will be entertained. No ifs, ands, or buts. You will be entertained with what happens. And I offer you that. I'll even serve you a glass of wine if you're inclined to have wine. But at any rate, I recommend tonight, the final is recommend the Board of Aldermen not consider changing the current traffic direction on Short Street and continue with it the way it is till we see how this functions overall with everything you're planning to do in the yacht basin area. But I thank you and I appreciate your support in all of this.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Madam Clerk?
Rich Alt.
Welcome, Mr. Alt.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. The topic that I wanted to bring up is CPI, which really doesn't fit into most of the agenda today, but because of the monthly gaps between times, I'm going to bring it up today. I'd like to talk about CPI and what comes next. I'm not here to ask this body to resolve global pollution issues like China or India's mass world contamination, but rather I would proffer that the Board of Aldermen take a more proactive stance on issues that impact the lives of all of us in Southport. I would like to start off by complimenting the State Port pilot for allowing our citizens to be able to express their various thoughts regarding the local companies that have other options instead of using processes that heavily pollute. I would specifically like to thank reporter Lee Hinnett for his well-researched articles regarding CPI and his reporting in general. For without an open and honest fourth estate, a republic cannot stand. The CPI issue is not resolved merely because the CPI has decided to go out of business in March of 2021. Since no one wants Archer Daniels to go out of business, taking with it much-needed jobs from Brunswick County, something has to replace CPI. It is hoped that the replacement facility will burn natural gas, which is much less a pollution problem since there are no renewable energy sources yet available that can provide energy at the level needed to run the plant. Besides replacing the energy source for Archer Daniels, there is a legacy pollution issues to be addressed, which include the potential toxic cleanup of the physical plant, that being CPI's plant, and the surrounding ground that has for years been able to operate without much, if any, government oversight. Additionally, there is the potential toxic bottom mud of the Duke Power 9.2-mile cooling canal that for over a decade the citizens were kept ignorant that CPI was dumping its wastewater and stormwater runoff into it. The state of North Carolina, to the best of my research, has never tested the mud to see if it's another love canal. In closing, I want to thank the mayor for beginning the process of addressing these issues when he recently engaged Duke Power in discussing the cooling canal. While the majority of the board, this board, signed a proclamation criticizing CPI last year, it was not unanimous. There were 2 board members voting no. I am suggesting that while proclamations are a start, this board should strongly consider a more robust approach to these types of potential dangers that impact all of our health. And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alt, and thank you for your continuing interest in CPI. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Hank Trusniak. Oh, okay, I got your name on the list. I apologize. And the same with Cameron Trusniak. Would you like to speak? Okay, sorry about that.
Well, just for a moment, could you, I'm happy to see the Boy Scouts here. Tell me the reason that you're here tonight. Okay. Well, great. Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, and anything the city can do to help with that merit badge, please let us know. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk?
You want to say something? Mr.
Welcome, Mr. Creech.
Thank you, sir. Behind the mask is Robert Creech. My wife and I live at 426 West Brunswick Street. Not used to dealing with the strings on the mask. Having seen two subjects tonight, and I'll be brief. Having seen on the agenda coming up Short Street consideration, I wanted to just say a word. I live on Brunswick Street, but like Woody, I'm at the corner of Short and Brunswick. Wanted to thank you for your good decision to make the change on Short Street. It has, in my opinion, greatly improved the safety and walkability with only a minor inconvenience to vehicle traffic. So again, thanks. I believe it accomplished what you set out for it to do. Second item, briefly, this has been on our agenda for over 4 years now, and that is the pier in the old yacht basin. You again, last month, approved a plan, and I've sat through meetings here, and we've had numerous plans, but there's been no activity. And I was just wondering if we could get somehow an update on how we're moving to replace the 50% that was approved by the board that was open and free clear of permit issues, so we were told, and just looking for progress so we can get the kids back out on the pier again. Love to see the crab derby down where the crab derby belongs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. Madam Clerk?
Okay, I have 2 emails here that
Okay, please
I
read
would like
them.
to read.
Thank you.
Good day, Aldermen and Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to pass along my thoughts associated with the new one-way direction onto Short Street by the city, which has made it safer for all of us. A change of one-way traffic by the city has resulted in fewer vehicles traveling on the 11-foot wide Short Street alley. This change in the new one-way direction on Short Street has no impact on our house with respect to noise or with respect to the number of vehicles that directly pass our home. However, it provides significant safety to all pedestrians, including visitors and local residents. This includes bikers, skateboarders, dog walkers, wheelchairs, strollers, yard workers, etc. Thank you again. Appreciate your efforts. Thank you. This is from GW and Marla Smith Jr., and they're at 217 Short Street. And then the next one is Mayor, Aldermen, and city officials. Thank you for the opportunity to express our support of keeping the reversed direction of Short Street as a permanent fixture of Southport streets. This change was vetted to the public at 2 separate Alderman meetings and written about in the Stateport pilot before the change happened. The residents of Short Street were requesting this change on behalf of safety issues. Here are some of the issues for the change discussed. Short Street is a small hill in Southport that is appealing to both bicyclists and skateboarders who frequently go down the hill. Cars on Brunswick Street would make a right turn onto Short Street and typically step on their gas to go up the hill. Due to limited visibility, it was at this juncture that there have been near misses. There have been bicyclists and skateboarders who have dramatically swerved to avoid getting hit, and others who avoided going into the water thanks to the dock rails. In early spring, a young boy was almost hit. The car did not stop or slow down, and the boy held out his hand, pushing off down the length of the car as it flew by. Short Street was originally a dirt cart path. Since then, homes were built, and the alley provided access to the homes. The city did a prospective easement and paved Short Street, primarily for city use, emergency and trash vehicles. Since Short Street is only 10 feet wide, it was never intended to become a major thoroughfare for traffic. It was around the same time West Brunswick Street was paved, which is 22 feet wide, and was to accommodate the thorough traffic, including big trucks. Short Street is an alley and was never intended to accommodate the volume of traffic that evolved. Southport residents and tourists use Short Street as a sidewalk going to and from restaurants on the waterfront and stores downtown. There are no sidewalks in very limited areas the pedestrians can get out of the way of traffic. Often there are children and strollers, making it more challenging. Residents on Short Street and West Brunswick Street had to go home by going through the congested traffic on Westmore Street toward Fishy Fishy Restaurant, where they turn right, carefully avoiding pedestrians, either walking, waiting to be seated at the restaurant, or getting seafood at Potter's. Sometimes there is high water near Fishy Fishy and Potter's, preventing passing through traffic. If it was too congested or there was high water, residents then try to go down Brunswick Alley. Sometimes you could go down the alley, and other times, after turning into the alley, you would have to carefully reverse back out into Caswell Street, which is a safety issue. This was typically due to Brunswick Alley being blocked by service vehicles, construction vehicles, or visitors parking cars along the narrow street. Cars and golf carts go the wrong way on Short Street, causing safety concerns. Large trucks, delivery vans, and vehicles pulling trailers would go to Short Street, ignoring signs for them, not to which has caused damage to their vehicles, property, and overhanging tree limbs. We even had a truck last year get stuck. Again, Short Street is only 10 feet wide. Benefits after making the directional change. Police, fire, and emergency vehicles have more natural and direct route to access homes on Short Street and Brunswick Street. Bicyclists and skateboarders now go down the hill at Short Street without cars turning blindly into them. Pedestrians are able to walk more safely up and down Short Street. We have even seen an individual in a motorized wheelchair frequently using Short Street. It has allowed people to go down Short Street in golf carts, cars, and bicycles just to stop and look at the water and marsh. Residents on Short Street and West Brunswick Street can now go home by going down West Street. This change removed our residential traffic off the already congested Westmore Street. Residents are not having to turn around near Fishy Fishy due to high water. It has removed the need for all our alternative path through Brunswick Alley, which is also not designed to be a thoroughfare road like Short Street, and eliminated the danger of having to back out onto Caswell when the alley passage is blocked. Large trucks no longer use the 10-foot wide Short Street. Instead, they are using the 22-foot wide West Brunswick Street, even though they are not supposed to. Cons of the directional change. It takes people 20 seconds longer to go to West Brunswick Street versus Short Street. The two residential homes with driveways on West Brunswick Street have no more traffic to watch for when leaving, but they have much better visibility than on Short Street. Cars and golf carts continue to move on the way no matter the direction. We hope the Aldermen will vote to make this change permanent, since the safety benefits significantly outweigh the cons. Thank you, Buddy and Debbie Barnes.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else that would like to speak that has not in public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Item E, approval of the agenda. I would like to add just one item to the agenda. It was supposed to be there and was inadvertently omitted, and it's the budget update summary from our finance office, and that will be given by Mr. Scott Rogers, and this will be item 9. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Mayor Pro Tem made the motion, and Mr. Lombardi second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Ethics statement. If any members know of any conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with respect to matters on the agenda, please so state so at this time. Any conflicts with the board? Okay, thank you. Item F, special recognitions. We have three special recognitions. Proclamation in honor of Veterans Day, which was November 11th. Proclamation for the American Diabetes Month, and a proclamation special recognition for Sergeant Wigmore and Officer Peterson. I'm going to read remarks concerning Veterans Day and the proclamation concerning the law enforcement officers. I stand to read this in honor of the veterans, and if you're a veteran, would you please stand? Mr. Wilson. There we go. Mr. Lombardi, thank you. What I'd like to do is read the remarks I made on Veterans Day. Veterans Day, a time when our country collectively consecrates the courage and commitment of the men and women who served in our armed forces. A day we stand united in saluting our veterans. First celebrated as Armistice Day, the day that marked the end of World War I, that was formally and famously recognized on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. Southport and the surrounding community have long traditions of military service, and many veterans have chosen to retire in our area. As mayor of Southport, I salute all veterans for their service to our country, their unyielding patriotism, and the unselfish sacrifice they and their families have made and continue to make. However, for this Veterans Day, I would like to pay special tribute to some of our older Southport natives who have served. I begin with that first Armistice Day in 1918, when Dr. J. Arthur Dozier, who served with the American Expeditionary Forces in France in 1917. As a surgeon, he was able to begin the long journey home. No small achievement during the influenza pandemic of 1918. During World War II, Southport men answered the call, including Apton Smith, Reese Swan, and 96-year-old Ozen Son Carrier, who is still with us today and served on the USS Indiana, which he is known as a plank owner of this battleship. The Southport High School class of 1951 had a number of young men to sign up for military service during the Korean War. These boys graduated on a Friday in May, and then on a Monday, a Tuesday, and a Wednesday of the next week, they were in Raleigh to take the oath to join the Navy, and from there took a train to boot camp. Ronnie Norton Hood, Billy Sardina Dozier, Albert Abbey Dozier, Harold Gumstump Spencer, Arthur Danvis Danny Harrelson Jr., Boyce Spencer, and my father-in-law, Elliot Sonny Hickman. These young men were not to have a summer of fishing and swimming, but were off to defend our country. Sonny Hickman, after taking the oath in Raleigh, caught a train with his Southport classmate, Bobby Cullis, and then were off to boot camp at the United States Naval Training Center in Bainbridge, Maryland. 3 left on Monday, 3 left on Tuesday, and 2 left on Wednesday. They left their youthful lives in beloved Southport, leaving behind family, friends, and the quaint, peaceful fishing village, the only world they had ever known to fight in the Korean War. The tradition of service continued during the Vietnam War, where Citadel graduate Paul Fisher, an Army veteran, fighting in the jungles of Asia, and Robert Potter serving as a Navy diver on a submarine off the coast of Vietnam. It is with much admiration and respect that I salute these brave men, sons of Southport, who when the call for duty to serve their country, they did not hesitate. May God bless them and all veterans who answer the call of duty, honor, and country. And I would like to thank the Southport Lions Club for displaying the flags in our city on that day in honor of all veterans. Our next proclamation, if our officers are here, Officer Wigmore, you come up, please. Chief, if you would come up, please. This proclamation is in recognition of outstanding service of Southport law enforcement officers, whereas for generations, the brave men and women of the City of Southport Police Department have answered the call to serve and protect our communities. Our law enforcement officers embody the courage and honor that represent the best of the City of Southport. And whereas in moments of danger and desperation, the first people we turn to are law enforcement officers. These often unsung heroes risk their lives so that we can live in peace and security. And whereas enduring long shifts in dangerous and unpredictable circumstances, our law enforcement officers demonstrate remarkable self-control and operate under extreme pressure. They deal with complex, challenging situations and the worst elements of humanity in the underbelly of society. And whereas we owe dutiful respect and humble gratitude to the City of Southport's police officers who work tirelessly to protect and sacrifice so much to maintain and defend civil order in our community. Whereas there comes times that police officers not only have to protect the City of Southport, but also become instruments of compassion for those who suffer from mental illness, depression, abuse, and suicidal situations. Whereas Patrol Sergeant Wigmore and Officer Peterson went above and beyond their call of duty to help save a person from taking their own life on October 29th, 2020. Now therefore, I, Joseph P. Hayden, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Southport, do hereby express sincere thanks to Patrol Sergeant Wigmore, Officer Peterson, and all Southport law enforcement officers who wear the badge and are selfless public servants, putting themselves in harm's way to keep us safe, and ask that citizens join me in giving these dedicated professionals the support and appreciation they deserve. Our next item, the consent agenda. This includes approval of the minutes from previous board meetings. Do any of the board have any questions concerning the consent agenda? Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Allen. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Item 1 on our main agenda is the auditor presentation. I'm told by the city manager this is the first time it's been on time in a number of years.
Sorry about that. Good evening to everyone.
This is a summary presentation of the audit. The LGC does have the audit, waiting on their formal approval to pass out final audit reports. But if you'd be kind enough to flip over to page 1, I'll go through some of the key items in the report itself. There were no significant audit findings in the report. On page 1, no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. On page 2, on the top, no uncorrected misstatements, no disagreements with management. Management did provide us with a representation letter dated October 16th. We're unaware that management consulted with any outside auditors, accountants, etc. In terms of findings or issues, if you will, comments, probably is the better way to say it. We did, in the effort to try and complete it by October 31st, which is the original due date, we had to make several reclassification issues, and we do ask in the future that the accounts receivable be reconciled, etc., closer to the general ledger balance. But all that got worked out, reconciled, and in good shape. On page 4, to review the numbers in the audit, and this is what we attempt to do is pull out key numbers. We're not saying they're all the key numbers, but several times, you know, I've been doing this for 35 years, and these are a lot of numbers that people ask about. What we do is put this in the first column, the previous 4 years in the columns right next to it, so you get a much better feel for what the trends might be, and you also get a feel for a number. If I just tell you a fund balance without a context, it may not have, or may have little meaning. So at the top, you see total fund balance in the general fund at $4,448,000. If you go back to 16, you would see that same number is $1,939,000. Unavailable fund balance is $959,000. 16 was $630,000. So non-spendable restricted was $1,063,000. Total general fund expenditures was $6.9 million. The fund balance available as a percentage of general fund expenditures was 50.18%. This percentage, along with another percentage, a couple numbers down, is one of the bigger items in the audit report because it's one of the numbers the LGC and any bonding agency or debt agency would take a look at to determine what your interest rate would be or a bond rating might be. And you can see the progression that it's made from 16, from 24.67% up to 50.18%. The unassigned fund balance is $3,385,000. Unassigned fund balance as a percentage at 48.68. And then you see revenues over and under expenses before contributions and transfers. This would be a net income number in a private business. General fund at $705,000, electric fund at $2.6 million, and water and sewer fund at $491,000. The next item you see is total fixed assets, accumulated depreciation, and cash in your water sewer fund, and then right below that is the same numbers in your electric fund. Then you get to cash and fund balance numbers in each of the three major funds you have. Cash in the general fund is $4,157,000. If you go back to 16, that same number is $1,671,000. The electric fund is $6,341,000. Same number in 16 was $3.649 million. Cash in your water sewer is $4.3 million. You can see the numbers there yourselves. Fund balance in general fund again is $4,448,000. The electric fund is $15.778, and the water sewer fund balance is $17.169. I tell folks in both the electric fund and the water sewer fund, you may have a high fund balance or net position in those proprietary funds, but what you really look for in any proprietary fund is cash flow, and we saw that in increasing cash balances, there is positive cash flow. Property tax rates there at 0.2956, and then the collection percentage at 98.96. If you exclude motor vehicles, 98.93%, both the highest of any of the 5 years presented here. And then the total valuation there, and then total levy amount underneath that. If you'd be kind enough to flip over to page 5, you see your debt numbers there, and the governmental activities at $2.3 million. If you go back to 16, it's 2.8. The business type activities at $795,000. In 16, there were 1.2 million. And then the breakdown of both your general fund revenues and expenditures are underneath there by department. I'm going to take you through a couple quick charts But the thing I'd love for you to take away from this is there was it's a few things. One, we did issue an unmodified report, which is a quote-unquote good report, clean report. Your fund balances are increasing across the board. Your cash balances are increasing across the board. And as we just looked at, your debt is decreasing. So that's good everywhere. And your tax collection percentage, which we'll take a look at a number in just a moment where that's important. On page 6, you can see the chart there. Total fund balance in blue, restricted in red. The blue number, obviously, you want going up, and it is. The red number can sometimes go up or down depending on what amount of PAL bill money that you may have spent, etc. But that is an excellent chart. The bottom of that chart or page, you see the fund balance available at 50.18, and you can see where the group weighted average is. And it's exceeding group weighted average for the first time in the 5 years presented, which is another good, really good chart. On page 7, this chart kind of shows the unassigned fund balance and graphs that out great in terms of how it looks for the city. So, on the bottom, you see the revenues over and expenses before transfers, and you can see for 4 of the last 5 years, all 3 are positive. In fact, all 4 of the last years are positive. With you go back 5 years, there was 1 negative. On page 8, you see the water and sewer fund, total fixed assets, accumulated depreciation in cash on the top. On the bottom, you see in a pie chart cash balances and fund balances with the respective numbers underneath those. And then on page 9, you see the property tax rates and compare those to the group weighted average, which the city is below the group weighted average. And then on the bottom of that same page, on page 9, you see the collection percentages and see that they've increased compared to 97.33% back in 16 to 98.96% this year. On the top of page 10, you see total property value and levy amounts. And on the bottom, you see a breakdown of your general fund revenue. And when I mentioned earlier, when your property tax rates continue to increase, or collection rates, you see that 38.85% of your total ad valorem or revenue in the general fund is from ad valorem taxes, so it's a big deal. And then on page 11, the last page, you see the public safety is the largest expenditure for the city there. So again, it's a good report. Happy to deliver it on time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you've got of me, not just tonight. You take this home, you go through it, get the final audit report. Please feel free to call the office anytime. If I happen not to be in, out presenting another audit or working on one, tell them, give you my cell number. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have of me.
Report. Any questions from the board? Thank you, sir. This was excellent. I appreciate the diagrams. They just make sense of a lot of numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Okay. Item 2. Public hearing and consideration for 1151 North Caswell Avenue annexation. I declare the public hearing open at this time. City Planner, Mr. Lloyd.
Mr. Mayor, that is a tough act to follow. I will do my best to give y'all a good presentation here. All right, so as the mayor said, this is an annexation for 1151 North Caswell Avenue. This is located between that, it's on that portion of North Caswell between West 12th and West 14th that is kind of spotty from an annexation purpose in terms of all those individual lots that are there. Over the past few years, we've seen more and more voluntary annexations for those lots, and I think eventually we'll probably end up having all those. But the size of the property is 0.14 acres. It's currently vacant and is zoned multifamily. The applicants are interested in this annexation in order to have access to the water and sewer service of the city. The sufficiency of the petition has been verified at the October 8th meeting. The board adopted a resolution setting a public hearing for tonight at that meeting as well, and it has been duly advertised in the Stateport Pilot on October 28th in accordance with the public notice requirements for annexations. So does the board have any questions of me?
From the board? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in the public hearing part of our meeting on this issue? I will close public comment. A motion from the board. Yeah. For
Make a motion.
annexation, to adopt the ordinance for annexation.
I'd like to submit a motion that we accept the voluntary annexation request by the Bakers for the property as described.
Motion by Alderman Sharkey, second by Mr. Spencer. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Motion carried. Thank you. Item 3. This is also a public hearing and consideration, but a different property. 116 East 13th Street, zoning map amendment. City Planner, Mr. Lloyd.
Yes, so as the mayor said, this is at 116 East 13th. The request for this is to approve a zoning map amendment that would rezone parcel ID 221MB01801 from business district to R10, which is it is single family residential. Let's see here. The attached amendment is for a 0.46 acre tract in the ETJ currently. It has frontage on East 13th. It's concurrently going through the annexation process, so we'll get to that later. The planning board and the board of aldermen, when they're reviewing these types of amendments, they may consider the following, including all uses that would be allowed in that zoning district, impacts on neighbors, economic impact, impacts to the tax base, spot zoning, road capacity, whether there's adequate infrastructure, community opinion, property values, consistency with the CAMA land use plan, the future land use map, the land suitability map, jobs, public services, and buffering requirements, as well as environmental impact, site limitations, and consistency with other plans and prior decisions. Mr. Eckert, the applicant, is right here, and he attached a narrative to his application on why he believes the zoning map amendment is in the public interest and consistent with the CAMA land use plan. The narrative is attached to that application in your packet if you'd like to review that. The planning board did make a recommendation on this. They reviewed the zoning map amendment at the September 17th and October 15th meetings, and they voted to recommend approval of the proposed zoning map amendment, and they stated that it is consistent with the overall goals, objectives, and policies of the land use plan. And that's really all I have. If anybody would like to see their attached consistency statement, it is there as well. And if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I move we approve zoning map amendment that would rezone parcel ID 221MB01801 from BD to R10.
right. I know y'all love hearing from me, so I just had to come up again.
116 East 13th Street, public hearing was already held on October 8th.
Yes, so we've kind of been through this one a couple times. It's the same property I just mentioned. It will be non-contiguous to the city limits, so it will be a satellite annexation. So we have verified the petition is sufficient. We have also duly advertised this hearing or the previous hearing and had a public hearing on it last month. It's now just up for the board to consider the annexation and to figure out if they want to move forward with it.
A motion concerning the voluntary annexation of this property. Okay, Mr. Spencer. Is there a second? Okay, second, Mr. Allen. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. Item 5, the new performance appraisal system. You've looked at it, and I've looked at it as well. It's very robust. It's got excellent goals, including productivity, clarity, collegiality, safety. I like all these items. So, Mr. Hargrove, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So you all will find a copy of the new performance appraisal system that I am asking you to consider. We won't go into it in depth tonight. We'll do that at our budget retreat or our budget workshop. One of the things that you have tasked me on since my hire was to establish high-performing teams here in the organization. One way we can do that is by changing our performance standards. And this particular procedure will do that, or process will help do that. So we won't really go into it a lot tonight, but I'd like you to carry it home, look at it, study it, and then we'll discuss it and dissect it a little bit deeper at a future date. Does anyone have any questions before?
The only question I had is, when you adopt something like this, usually you have some kind of a training or familiarization period for the employees and supervisors, so is that part of your plan?
Absolutely. We'll take all the department heads and sit down, and I'll personally train everyone on it. I know the system looks kind of daunting at this particular point in time. It's actually very easy to use, and after you've been through it a time or two, it will be second nature. Anyone else? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. Item 6, Up Your Arts, and this is concerning Phase 2 Memorandum of Understanding to repurpose Southport's former City Hall building on Moore Street into a state-of-the-art, community-based creative and performing arts center. Mr. Hargrove and also the representatives from Up Your Arts, I believe I saw Bonnie Bray and Mr. Kiefer here.
Good evening. My name is John Kiefer, and I am here tonight on behalf of Up the Arts and our Save the Hall Y'all campaign. On November of last year, the Board of Directors for Up Your Arts entered into an agreement with the City of Southport to conduct a 6-month feasibility study for the adaptive reuse of the old City Hall building located at 201 East Moore Street. This initial Phase 1 study was intended to give Up Your Arts an exclusive opportunity to study whether a project to convert this structure into a community-based performing and creative arts center was feasible. I would like to take just a minute to recap a few of the highlights of this feasibility study, which we presented in writing to the Board of Aldermen in July. During the Phase 1 study, we were able to make safe access into the old City Hall building and to create a really cool high-def 3D virtual tour of the building. This is available for public viewing on our website, upyards.org. You can take a virtual walk through the entire building. A total set of as-built architectural drawings were completed by Rich Bandera, which will form the basis of our redesign efforts. Rich has also provided us with preliminary proposed occupancy levels, which will assist us in creating a realistic operating budget. An extensive visual engineering survey was completed by W.D. Jones Engineering. This report, along with the aforementioned architectural drawings, were provided to the city in our written July submission. I'm very happy to report that after reviewing all of the information gathered during the Phase 1 feasibility study, the Board of Directors of Up Your Arts voted unanimously to begin working toward the implementation of a Phase 2 agreement with the City of Southport. The shared initial reaction by all parties involved was, this is going to be a great and successful project, and nothing we saw or encountered seemed to deter our vision for a community-based art center in the heart of Southport. As originally visioned, the planning and executive processes were segmented into 4 separate phases. Phase 1 was a feasibility study, which is completed. Phase 2 is a lengthy design development period. Phase 3 would be the pre-construction planning and the fundraising necessary, and Phase 4 will be the actual reconstruction of the building. Phase 2 will focus on the design development required to map out in very specific detail how we hope to repurpose the building into a state-of-the-art, community-based performing and creative arts center. I'm going to introduce, in just one second, Robert Carroll, who is the current chairperson of the Board of Directors for Up Your Arts. And Robert will be presenting to you a quick overview of our draft MOU, which we provided in writing to the Aldermen. And after his comments, we would be happy to take any questions you might have. But prior to introducing Robert, I want to acknowledge 2 of the other members of the Board of Up Your Arts who are here with us tonight. Bruce Bland has been a member for several years. Bruce completed 37 years of service to the federal government in facilities development in the Atlanta area. He specialized in site acquisition, construction, and real estate management. So he will be helping to head up and coordinate the group working specifically on the design development, as this is his professional background. So we're excited. He's also a bass player. Also with us tonight is my wife, Bonnie Bray. You know her as the chair of the Beautification Committee, but she is also the vice chair of the Save the Hall Y'all project. And she is now, we can officially say this, a successful concert promoter and producer, because Bonnie was in charge this past week of the concert we did at the Jetport as a kickoff for the next phase of the Save the Hall Y'all campaign. She did a great job. We had a great turnout. It was a great day. I do want to mention before I introduce Robert, we have 3 handouts that are available around the table as you leave. This was the original packet that we put out. It kind of overlays our vision of what we hope to see in the repurposed City Hall building. This, in case you're interested, was the packet we provided to the Aldermen, available to the public. This has all the preliminary architectural as-built drawings, the engineering report, and other good stuff. And just this past week, ready for our concert, we made up these little handout cards that, if you open it to the inside, lay out the whole vision for the Phase 2 and beyond in a nutshell. These are available over there as well. So it's my privilege to introduce Robert Carroll. One of you know here in town is the owner of Remax Southern Coast. What you may not know about Robert, he was just named by the Star News as one of the 40 under 40 upcoming business community leaders throughout the whole greater Wilmington, Southport area. So it was a really honor for him to receive that. And he's going to talk to you specifically about the MOU that we have proposed. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. So all of you have a copy of the MOU at this point. We did take into consideration some of the early feedback that we received from you and made changes to that MOU to fit with what your goal was. Phase 2 is a 12-month MOU, and during this Phase 2, our focus will be on program and design development, as well as establishing a separate nonprofit board of trustees. We will continue a variety of efforts started in Phase 1 to solicit feedback to better understand the program needs of the community. We will concurrently engage a professional architectural or design build firm to assist with defining and prioritizing all aspects of program development. They will assist in evaluating the requirements for engineering and hazardous material remediation services. In addition, the firm will then prepare a series of architectural drawings, specifications, and construction budget. Prior to the conclusion of Phase 2 MOU, we will work to establish a separate nonprofit board of trustees to become the legal agency to oversee and direct funding for the construction. This phase will prepare us for Phase 3, which will largely focus on raising the necessary funds to proceed into the actual reconstruction process. During this process, all expenses to date have been paid by Up Your Arts, and there are no costs to the city for this phase or any future phase, including reconstruction. Any questions?
I just have one question. How is the hazardous material remediation going? Because that is an old building. It was shut up for a long time, and the safety of it is my concern.
Well, if you take that cool virtual tour on upyourarts.org, you can see what a mess that building is inside. For those of you not familiar, the roof leaked there for a number of years after the city moved out, and there is really toxic mold throughout the entire structure. We were able to safely access it. We had hired a firm to go in and make it safe for us to enter. They gave us a bid, initial bid, just so we got in the ballpark of what it would take to totally remediate the mold issues in there. And we're looking at basically a total gut job of the building to get rid of all the toxic mold. To just do mold remediation, I think the figure was around $400,000. So the building is in very bad shape. That's why we wanted to go ahead and do a good videography of the building so that we did not have to keep going back in there, because that requires Tyvek suits, mask, treatment, surface treatment, air treatment. It was a big deal the day that we went in there. So as we're projecting this part of the design development, certainly a lot of the demolition and removal of the hazardous material will be a top priority as we go about that process.
Thank you. Mr. Hargrove.
So the Aldermen have heard their proposal. What I would like you to consider tonight is if we would like to continue this partnership with Up Your Arts and this, I would like y'all to vote to continue or not continue the partnership. If you would like to continue the partnership, then I would advance the MOU to our city attorney for his inspection and approval.
Mr. Hargrove, can I get one question before we do that? We've got a lot of city documents, police department, old financial records. Have they been removed?
I believe we got all the stuff from the garden club out. Chief Corning is well aware of what's still left in there, and I believe he has a program for slowly transferring that out. We did take precautions in the 3D video tour to block out all the areas that would have any type of sensitive old police materials in there. So that is something that I'm not sure if Chief could speak to that, but the plan was to slowly relocate all those documents to a safer location.
This is not just for police department evidence, but it's also city records of financials, bills, things of that nature. Have we taken care of that, Gordon? All right.
And it should be noted that anything that is removed from the building needs to be treated for the mold as it's brought out.
And it's making it worse every day. So sooner the better.
I'd like to make a
Any other
motion
questions? Okay, go, Mayor Pro Tem, please.
to allow the city attorney to, wait a minute, to allow the city attorney to review it and approve it.
I've spoken with their attorney, and I told him I just didn't want to get into doing that until I got an okay from you guys to proceed. And
Okay.
tonight, that's all really we were asking for. If it's your intent for us to go ahead and try to negotiate the memorandum.
Have a motion and a second to continue the partnership with Up Your Arts. Any further discussion?
I would just like to thank them for their spirit of volunteerism and the amount of energy they're putting in this project. This will be something for the future of Southport. So it's a really amazing project, and thank y'all so much.
That be your motion also for us to try to bring that back to the board at the next meeting, maybe, the agreement? Okay.
If you need us to do that, yeah.
Any further discussion on the partnership with Up Your Arts? And we'll bring that memorandum back to the board for the next meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kiefer. Thank you, Ms. Bray. Thank you so much. All right. Looks like we're at the what I would call the main event, and I appreciate everyone being here. Item 7, concerning Short Street, and as stated in the pilot, and I appreciate the article, and I quote: "City takes long look at Short Street." If that was you, thank you for that. Anyway, the city did take a long look, and I did meet with the residents on this street concerning the safety issues with respect to pedestrian and vehicular traffic. In consultation with the police chief and city manager, an administrative decision was made to reverse the traffic pattern on Short Street. There's a request for board action, and there's a form in your packet from the city manager. So, Mr. Hargrove, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, but I think you've already said it all. So a few months ago, Chief Corian approached me about a problem we were having on Short Street with the interaction between pedestrians and vehicles. Chief Corian and I and the mayor, we discussed some different alternatives that we could attempt, and we came down to Chief Corian and I made an administrative decision to reverse the direction to see how that would work. Intuitively, pedestrian safety has increased. Less traffic means less interactions. From a negative standpoint, the reversal seems to have confused the motoring public who is used to taking a right on Short Street. So there has been a lot of discussion in the community about the reversal of Short Street. And so at this particular point in time, we've had it in place for about 2 months. I would like to bring it to the board for a board action to vote on whether we should keep the reversal in place or return it to its original state. So that is what I'm here to ask you to consider this evening.
I was personally on that street when people were trying to walk down, one with a dog and a car coming up, and they were jumping out of the way because it was so close. There's walls and bushes and everything else, so I definitely would like to see that stay as it is.
motion, and I want you to look at
Can I
this
ask a question,
sheet.
please?
It's very, if you have it, I would go by this. And yes, Alderman Sharkey, please.
Is there any information from Chief Coring on complaints about wrong-way traffic? Since we've changed the direction of Short Street, any kind of factual data that you can maybe contribute to how this has had an effect on any traffic and anything as far as a detrimental situation?
I think you've heard pretty much, Alderman Sharkey, from the comments made tonight from the citizens. I mean, as the manager was saying, the pros and the cons, again, the safety aspect I think has been met because of what we were the stuff that was brought to my attention. I think definitely that has helped that the safety aspect, but then again, we do have, on the flip side, there is some confusion, and the motoring public is still getting used to it, so we still have complaints and concerns about, you know, the folks trying to go up against the wrong way pattern. So we're just dealing with that as best we can.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we make this change permanent, and then I'll also do that in an effort so we can have aldermen make their comments on it if they'd like, and I have some I'd like to make.
Okay. Mr. Allen motion, and second by Mayor Pro Tem, and continued discussion, please, Mr. Allen.
Thank you. I walk Short Street just about every day. My wife and I go for a walk through town, and I can say without a doubt in my mind that this change has increased pedestrian safety in that area on Short Street specifically, and other changes in the yacht basin have improved pedestrian safety there as well. I know several of us, including myself, campaigned on the issue of increasing pedestrian safety in Southport, particularly in this area. So I'm personally very much in favor of seeing this be made permanent. It would be nice Chief, if we could somehow work on some measures to increase public awareness and to decrease the number of motorists who ignore or aren't aware of the change and continue going the wrong way, not only on Short Street but on Brunswick Street as well. Whether that's in the form of additional signage, you know, maybe one that we've got some of the, you know, trailer flashing light trailers we can set up. Maybe on, you know, right now is probably not the time of year to do it, but when things get back going in season, maybe on Friday and Saturday night, if we could even go to the extent of having a patrolman in a car sitting there to, you know, let people know that what the deal is.
Yes, sir. We can definitely do that. I think there are some additional measures I think we can do to enhance that, but I think it was just the wait, I guess, to see if it was going to be more permanent or versus before we move forward on that. But there are a couple ideas that I've talked with the manager about.
Maybe some big pointed arrows pointing toward you should do it. That should get their attention. Painted on the pavement.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make some comments regarding the goal. I understand why we reversed the direction was for pedestrian safety. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And if we went back to the old way for Short Street, we would have to probably change the intersection of Short Street and West Brunswick to make it harder for trucks to go up that street, wouldn't we?
Yes.
And we'd probably need to add speed bumps or some kind of deterrent to, you know, make traffic less desirable through that way. So we've accomplished something already with just changing the direction.
Yes.
And it's having a positive impact. We're not seeing anything detrimental other than some confusion that we can probably remedy with better communication or signage. So to me, it sounds like it's been a successful trial and that I'm supportive of keeping it the way it is.
Excellent comments. Any further discussion?
I agree with Alderman Sharkey. I think, and I appreciate staff taking the initiative with this. This is really a good approach, and I support your decision.
We have a motion and a second. Last time for discussion. Okay. All in favor of keeping the reversal of Short Street permanent? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, carried unanimously. Thank you. And thank you, gentlemen, for your comments and for working through this. We appreciate that. This is how city government is supposed to work. Call someone in city government, we will come and talk, and we will work through the process. So thank you. All right, item 8, and that is Chief Coring and the police bike patrol feedback.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Alderman. This was a program we tried to bring to life early on, but of course with COVID restrictions, it was kind of placed on the back burner. We did activate and get folks out on the bikes back in July, and it was very well received then. And again, we're just trying to work on being more approachable and being more one-on-one with our citizens. We're more approachable out of the car and on bikes than we are in the car. So it's something that several of the folks on the force are excited to do. But again, with the COVID hit us, we kind of had to peel back on that and kind of put it on the back burner. But we have recently, about the last month or so, have gotten the folks back out on the bikes, and we've been downtown in the business district and riding in some of the neighborhoods. So just wanted to brief you on that. We've had a lot of positive feedback from that. The businesses, of course, like us downtown. And again, it makes us more approachable. It's helpful for the officers because they're out of the vehicle. They can hear more, see more, and be more one-on-one with the public. And in today's eye, with law enforcement, anything I feel we can do to be more approachable to our citizens, I want to try to do that with everything that we can do and manageable. So we have run into a couple issues. The bikes that we have already, they're older. We actually retrieved them from the old city hall across the street, and were able to, I guess, dust them off and send them to a local bike shop. And he said they would get us through for a little while, but that's probably something we'll look to replace those bikes. They've got some age on them, so we've had a couple issues, but just wanted to bring it to your attention that we are back doing that again. I think it will help with some of these issues. It's not just downtown, but we will be visible down around the yacht basin area in some of our neighborhoods. We've actually got some equipment where we can carry the bikes out to River Mist, some of our larger pocket communities on the edge of the city, Harbor Oaks, the Landing, some places like that. So you'll be seeing us there as well. The uniform that the officers are wearing, it's a brighter type of a shirt, and it's more of a dress down, and of course what I'm wearing. So again, we hope that it'll be helpful, and we appreciate any feedback that you might have. So I do have a handout I'll leave with you before I leave this evening, but just wanted to give you an update on that. Any questions?
Chief, thank you for being out there, and again, congratulations to your men.
Yes, sir.
Saving one life
Yes, sir.
anytime is
Yes,
significant.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Officer Peterson was not here due to an unknown situation. He couldn't be here tonight, but again, it's just very proud of the officers. We had that call the other evening, and when I went out and assisted them, they were well underway trying to talk the gentleman down. After about 50 minutes, we were able to unarm him and get him safely to the hospital. He was just having a bad time, but I can say all the time how proud I am of the officers, but coming out that evening and just seeing the compassion that they had for this gentleman and just helping him. And we know him, so I think the rapport that we built with him, that's important when we see citizens interact with him, all the time, instead of just when a 911 call is made. So I think those things that they're doing, seeing that coming out, and seeing that in action, I just wanted to commend them for a job well done. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next on the agenda, committee reports. Oh, I'm sorry, one more. That's right. I saw it's on this, but not on that one. I apologize. Item 9, budget update summary, Scott Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, Melanie Trexler, Finance Director, was supposed to be here tonight. From what I understand, she comes and gives a quarterly update on the budget, and that's what you have in your packet. For this go-around is July, August, September.
but due to a family emergency, she asked me if I could step in here tonight. I did get a chance to have a short conversation with her this afternoon while I was in my car waiting for the monsoon to pass somewhat, so I guess you've all experienced that in some way, shape, or form today. But we were discussing the fact that everything seems to look pretty good, all things considered, with our general fund revenues are about 22%, and we're 25% through the year. But with general fund revenues, we're at 22%. Electric fund revenues were coming in at like 34.8, and water sewer fund revenues at 30.8. And she started naming some things that she had looked at, and I tried to take a look at some of these things this afternoon as time allowed. But some things that may be surprising: the local option sales tax revenue numbers were up. Even occupancy tax seemed to be looking pretty good. Property tax numbers are up, but she said, as she pointed out, again, it'll probably be late January before we have real information on that. And probably no surprise to most of you is that the money from the ABC board is up considerably for this time frame. So I'll do my best to answer if any questions you might have, and if I can't get you an answer, then we'll look at it and get back to you as soon as possible. So does anybody have any questions?
I have a couple. First, I wanted to thank the manager and Melanie and you, Scott, as well, for proactively bringing this to us. I actually emailed the manager last week, I think, and asking to have a report like this done, and he immediately called me back and said, I'm way ahead of you. It's already been in process and on the agenda. So I appreciate that. Do we have a sense? It looks like, so we've, as you mentioned, we've received 22% of the general fund revenue in the quarter. Do we have any sense of how that compares to what we typically see, what we've typically seen in previous years? Is it, I mean, obviously you wouldn't expect to have the, exactly 25% of your revenue come in each quarter, but is the first quarter of the fiscal year generally a little bit less than 25%, or do we have a feel for that?
Well, oddly enough, when we were having that short conversation, I asked, because I had not seen what you guys had in your packet yet, I asked, do we have July, August, September 19 numbers in that packet? And I don't think they are for you to see that. But that's when do you folks have this summary? Do you have that summary sheet? That's where I was getting that 22 from, and I actually sat down and went through some of these numbers that you have way more pages than this. I was kind of looking at the summary numbers to make sure I could kind of see where those figures came from. But I think we're pretty good. You would think a lot of numbers would be down compared to last year, but they're really not.
Yeah, personally, if we could get maybe 18 and 19, if it's not too much work, just for the first quarter, just to see what the comparisons are, both on the revenue and the expenditures.
We should be able to do that.
If we could do that without, I don't want to create a lot of work, but it'd just be interesting to see.
Any other questions or anything I can help you guys with?
Just one comment. You've been a great addition to our city staff and the finance department. Appreciate your hard work.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that greatly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Excellent report. And sounds like the city is in pretty decent shape for what is going on in the country right now. So thank you. Okay, next up, committee reports. Mr. Allen, anything to report? Well, Karen has it. Go ahead, Karen.
Thank you, Mayor. For the Planning Board, in addition to the recently adopted UDO updates, the Planning Board has also been working on updates for the Southport CAMA land use plan. The comprehensive plan we refer to in the UDO is the CAMA land use plan. All of our zoning and development decisions must be supported by our comprehensive plan. Citizens can find the proposed updated CAMA land use plan on the city website on the home page under public notices, and look for the heading City of Southport Notice of Public Hearing December 10th, 2020. The public hearing for the updated plan will take place on December 10th at the regularly scheduled board meeting. So please take time to look through the CAMA land use plan. You can let us know. You can contact us or planning board members if you have questions ahead of time, and then we'll have the public hearing for it and hopefully adopt it on the 10th. Thank you.
Barty.
The Beautification Committee had their cleanup. They have regular cleanup on Saturday. And we got to reposition the boat after the lifeboat after the storm, and we landscaped around it. We also did weeding and planting and mulching wherever places that we take care of. But we did something different this time, and we had a group tour. A group of people walked around to all the areas that we take care of and made their suggestions how to improve what we do. So that was different. And believe it or not, we already started working on Christmas decorations. And we checked the sailboat wreaths. They're going to be going up soon. We've got to make sure all the lights are working and they're in good shape. So that was the Beautification Committee. And we're looking forward to Christmas.
Oh, that sounds good.
The rate committee will be meeting on November 20th to further discuss solar panel accessories on houses and the way they're metered and what kind of policies we may have on how the metering's done and what kind of rate structure there would be. So we've gotten more information from Electric Cities on policy and things that we need to have a meeting with our director, Ellie Pittenger, to come back to the board with recommendations.
Thank you. Mr. Spencer?
Briefly I appreciate the opportunity to serve on the 4th of July committee, and we did have a conference call. Mayor, you were included, and also Mr. Jones. And we did survive not having 4th of July last year, but we're looking at streamlining the process, bringing back core values of Main Street USA and our hometown values. And working on quality versus quantity, and to represent Southport's heritage and our core values. So we are already working on that and looking forward to next 4th of July, and hopefully we won't have to wear masks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Allen? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Board.
So normally during the manager's report, I give the manager's report, but this evening I'd like to start out with Ms. Heather Hemphill, our Director of Parks and Recreation. I'd like for her to address the board about the advances we've made with the city pier. She's the lead project manager on this particular job, so I think it would be best if it came from her.
Here we go. I met with our consultant about a week and a half ago to come up with the correct threshold for the 50% repair versus maintenance. And so we came up, really the repair, most of the redoing will be on the outside of the L, and most of the repair will be coming on the straight part of the L that comes into the street. It was submitted at the beginning of last week to CAMA. I inquired today, and they said literally any day we'll get our answer, which they appear to be favorable. So as soon as we get it, you will be able to hear me yell with excitement, because it's been 4 years. So,
So Heather, we anticipate that we're going to rebuild the dock in its previous size and configuration. Is that
yes.
correct?
Yes, sir. What we'll do though, I mean, not all of it will be rebuilt. We have to do the repair. But it will go back exactly as it was pre-Matthew, but in a little bit better shape. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I know she wasn't prepared to speak tonight, so I kind of threw that on her, but I thought it would be best coming from her. The rest of the report that I have to give you is I'd like to talk a little bit about some ditch cleaning we got going on here in the community that's being funded by a grant. There's going to be some cleaning of Bonnets Creek at the it's going to start at the culvert, I believe, on Howe Street. Is that correct, Tom? Leonard Street. And it's going to go 720 feet inland cleaning that ditch. That should really help our stormwater flow. In addition to that, we're going to clean the mouth of Cottage Creek where it empties into the marsh. We're going to go back inland at 720 feet. Now these numbers might change a little bit because the company that is doing this is still waiting for approval from the Army Corps of Engineers and CAMA, so the project scope and size could change just a little bit, but we're really excited about having these ditches cleaned out. We really think it'll help manage our stormwater flow a little bit better. And you know, they're very, very particular about how those ditches are handled. So we're really excited for this course of action. Taylor Field is where we have been dropping our leaf and limb debris. We have mulched that up into chips. We have just a little bit left, so we're anticipating in about 2 weeks for that field to be completely empty, and we'll move forward with the park build out that we've got planned for that area. Also, as everyone here knows, or I hope they know, we entered into a sewer service agreement with the county last week. The county would like for us to get together for a tour, the Board of Aldermen, myself, and some of the utilities directors, to go out and tour the West Brunswick wastewater treatment plant and see what they're going to do with our $25 million. And I think that's really important. The date on that's going to be December 11th. It's going to start in the morning. They'll have a little question and answer, and then they'll take us to the facility and show us around what they intend to do. I think that's great that they're willing to be so transparent. And so really what I need is a show of hands of how many aldermen want to go, because that's going to depend on whether I need to advertise it as a public meeting or not. So all those that are interested in going, please raise their hand for me. Okay, so that's everyone. Thank you. And that's about all I have for right now. Any questions for me? Bonnets Creek is going to be cleaned starting at Leonard Street at the culvert, and it's going to go inland for 720 feet. Inland.
From Leonard Street to the river. Towards the river.
Does anybody else have any questions for me? Okay, thank you. I would like to talk with the city attorney before I talk about that. I'd like to discuss that at a later date with you, Mark. I'll have a discussion with the city attorney, and when we meet in December, I'll bring up that very matter and let you know some of the stuff. I just want to make sure that I'm legally able to discuss an ongoing case like that.
Yeah, that Mark, and also there's been some legislation passed by the state which makes the Gordon's job a lot harder in doing that now. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove, and thank you for the continued work that you are doing to, as you say, build a culture of excellence. Is something that we work on every day, and I appreciate that very much. Next up are the mayor's comments. What I'd like to do is, again, make sure everyone reads the pilot, the portfolio, again, to honor veterans. And this is a wonderful story on Mr. Carrier. He feels like he made a difference, is the title. I have some, there's a picture here with his fellow Southport native, Reese Swan. Good-looking black and white, good-looking men. There's a picture of him with Vice President Pence, and then there's a picture of him with his shipmates. So, again, thank you to the veterans, and thank you for those who are here tonight and those who serve. Hopefully, lots of you received this in the mail, and it's how you can get more information from the city. And we're doing everything we can to increase the information that we give to you and that you can receive. So if you fill this out and you, I guess you do it online, send it in, and you will get email updates from the city. There's a monthly. If you haven't seen this, please take a look. Go to the website and look at that. We are just trying to do more to get information out to our citizens. In terms of why I look like this, it's No Shave November. And my mother Marie did not like it when I looked like this, and nor does our aunt Letitia Hickman Grant like the beard. They both hated it. But it is a yearly tradition to grow awareness to all cancers, and in particular men's health issues, such as prostate cancer. There are 233,000 new cases of prostate cancer diagnosed every year, and 30,000 men will die from this. So I'm wearing a bow tie with the light blue. It has a light blue ribbon, and then I wear it in honor of all who've been diagnosed with prostate cancer. And this is to remind us that there are screening tests available for many of these cancers, so get checked. Put it on your New Year's resolution. COVID-19, we're in phase 3, Executive Order 176. It's effective November 13th tomorrow through December 4th. It decreases the number of indoor mass gatherings from 25 to 10. The U.S. cases, 150,000 cases a day. In North Carolina, over 2,000 cases a day for our 7-day average. It is not going away. Vaccine trials are encouraging, new treatments, monoclonal antibodies, but still, why get the disease? Stay vigilant, wear facial covering, wait, physical distancing, at least 6 feet, wash your hands. Of course, it's still safer at home. It's an airborne transmission by droplets, so we all need to keep our droplets to ourselves. Seriously. And you can find out more information on the city website. I gave a much more detailed update on COVID-19, and you can see it there. Also, Thanksgiving coming up. Limit your travel. Limit the number of people you gather to celebrate the holiday. And it's best to be with people whom you live with or you're in the home with repeatedly. Out-of-town visitors can bring COVID-19 to you. Limit the number at your table. Spread out. Limit the time you are together. I know it's and usually an all-day affair, but it's different this year. Pray and give thanks for a safe, healthy Thanksgiving and for the many blessings that we have. And we pray at Thanksgiving for a better 2021. As the manager mentioned, we have a signed sewer agreement with Brunswick County. This is for 750,000 gallons per day, and we're going to be part of the West Brunswick Wastewater Treatment Facility. The city manager and I hand-delivered the agreement to the county commissioners last week, signed by the mayor. This is something I campaigned on, and many of our aldermen campaigned on this. Regionalization, I thought it was crucial, and this is what we've done, so I want to thank and the city attorney for their diligence in bringing this policy to fruition. I want to thank the engineering firm of Hazen and Sawyer, Tim Devine, Todd Johnson, and Colin Beck. Their advice was instrumental to the success of this project, and I appreciate the emails and phone calls in helping guide the city in moving forward. I want to thank Brunswick County officials for their cooperation. We will continue to work together. It may not have been perfect, but again, the main goal was regionalization, and we were able to do that. Last, and I'm particularly grateful to our Raleigh attorney, Grace Dyers. This is someone the First Lady and I have known for a number of years, and he gave outstanding representation for our city. Yacht Basin Overlay District, Mayor's Advisory Committee. From our workshop in February and from our Board of Aldermen meeting in February, aspects of the Yacht Basin were discussed, and Mayor Pro Tem Karen Mosteller addressed the need for a Yacht Basin Overlay District Committee. I wrote a memorandum on May 16, 2020 concerning the Yacht Basin Overlay District and began talking to citizens about this. And I also did a mayor's community update on October 7th, and it's on the city's website. And again, this is the memorandum, and it contains goals, water quality, environmental issues. So I'm going to turn this into the committee as my thoughts, and I want citizens to do the same. We were going to announce this earlier. You may wonder, why did it take so long? First of all, we were waiting to have a city manager that was permanent, so we finally got one in June. We wanted to give him a few months just to get settled in. By that time, the hurricane hit on August 3rd. So now, as winter season is approaching, it's the perfect time to announce the Yacht Basin Overlay District Committee. The co-chairs will be Alderman Karen Mosteller and John Allen. And we have business owners, citizens, planning board members, all who bring a unique expertise to this process. These meetings are open to the public. These are open meetings. These are citizen participation is needed. Bring your ideas, bring your drawings, bring your requests, bring your sketches to the meetings. Again, this is open to everyone. This is as transparent as you can get. It is an open meeting. They'll be meeting frequently. The citizens should participate. I've asked the committee to have their work completed by March of 2021 so they can present 3 to 4 plans to the Board of Aldermen to review and discuss. Then there'll be more public comment, there'll be a public hearing, and then there'll be a vote by your elected officials in terms of the best plan and a better way forward for our citizens, our tourists, and our city. And I have the list, the aforementioned Alderman Karen Mosteller and John Allen, and these other members enough to do this: Mr. Jim Chirico, Sue Hodgkin. From the Planning Board, Maureen Meehan, Gustavo Mabelli, Mr. Robert Potter, Southport native, and it's a long history of being in the yacht basin, the Potter family, Paul Swenson, and Eric Lapala. So they have all agreed. I've talked to each one of them, or either in person or by phone or email, and I'm grateful for their willingness to serve. Again, this is a mayor advisory committee, and this is one that requires citizen participation. So I hope that our citizens will do that. Last, happy Thanksgiving to all. May you be safe with family and friends, but in small numbers, as we give thanks for the many blessings we have received, including the wonderful blessing of living in Southport. So thank you. That's all that I have. And we'll go with the board comments. Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, I wanted to talk a little bit about transparency and the citizens' desire to stay informed. We hear a lot about this, and rightfully so. They're huge issues, and they're very important to not only the board, obviously, but also to the citizens. The city is now offering everyone the opportunity to receive email updates from the mayor, a monthly newsletter, and emergency notifications. You can simply go to the city website, cityofsouthport.com, and you can sign up for this. And this notice went out in everybody's water bill this past month, and I hope everyone will take advantage of this and use it as an opportunity to stay more connected with us and with the city and the aldermen and know more about what's going on in the city. And along those same lines, if any citizen has any questions or concerned, all of us on the board are more than happy to hear from you. Our contact information, phone numbers, and email addresses are on the city's website. We're out and about, obviously, in the community frequently, and we welcome your comments and discussions and advice and everything else. So please don't ever hesitate to contact us. In regards to the audit report we received tonight, it's an excellent report. Obviously, it's great to that we've finally gotten to where we're doing those in a timely fashion, and I want to recognize the good work of past boards and past administrations, past administrators, who have made some tough decisions in the past years that set the table for the excellent financial footing that the city is on right now. It didn't just happen overnight. There's been a lot of decisions made over the last 5 years or so that have contributed to that excellent report that we got. And I think everybody, past boards, past city managers, past finance directors, as well as the current manager, finance director, and alderman all deserve some credit for that excellent report. And I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the emphasis on contacting us. I can assure you we're easy to find because I get emails from people who are tourists to complain about why certain businesses are not wearing masks. So if they can find us, Southport citizens can find us, so please don't hesitate. Again, Mr. Spencer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Alderman Allen, thank you so much for recognizing previous administrations. This is an ongoing battle, and there were some hard decisions made to try to get that fund balance in place, and people lost their positions because of it. That's the cost of being a good leader. Audio technical, we really need to focus on it. We're doing great with our videography and getting the news out to the public. They're spreading the word and letting people see these meetings. But while we're in this building, we've got to work on our audio-visual technology so that when we're referencing these documents, the public needs to be able to see them. Whether they look along, whether they follow along on maybe an iPad that they might bring or something, but we need to come into the 21st century and so that everybody gets this information and we're just not talking about numbers in the air. So that's really important. Thank you for doing that. Before I forget, I need to make sure I welcome Mr. Lee Hennett from the Southport Pilot. My wife was previously working there, and she says that Lee Hennett is the most qualified writer, one of the most qualified writers that they've ever come through the Southport Pilot, and we are grateful that he is covering our meetings and presenting the information to the public. So I welcome Lee, and I know he'll do a good job. I did not have the award, but Mayor, the Dos Equis man thing, I thought you were going to be running for a thing. But instead of, and I think it's the most interesting mayor rather than the most interesting man. So that was great. And Woody, you pretty tough looking today too. So I wouldn't want to tangle with you. Our Boy Scouts, thank you for coming. Congratulations. You ought to get a badge for surviving a meeting. And I think you teach being a good neighbor. And we need to be good neighbors. We don't need government to come into our neighborhoods and to tell us what's right and wrong. And sometimes adults lose that. So I appreciate what you're aspiring to. I look forward to one of you sitting at this table someday. We need you. And tell all your friends it's not as bad as it looks. So congratulations, Mr. Hidman, on your badge. Happy Thanksgiving, and enjoy your family. That's the most important thing we can do is be grateful for today. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just an update. The Public Information Office is already working with a company to improve our audiovisual system. They met with them last week, and that is an ongoing process, so I appreciate you bringing that up, but they are in the process of doing that now. It's an expensive proposition, but we're going to purchase as much as we can and do as much as we can in that regard, so they can see what we're talking about in the documents and that type thing in real time. So thank you. Alderman Shockey.
And good evening to all. Good to see you, everybody. First, I'd like to say congratulations and thank you to Melanie Trexler and staff for getting us the audit on time. That's a huge accomplishment. And it's a report with like no flaws. We're doing really well, and we should be very proud of ourselves. And it wouldn't have happened if Melanie and staff didn't get the paperwork and do the accounting and get it to the auditors on time. So congratulations and thank you. I participated in the Brunswick Vision 2040 survey. How many people are aware of that? It's a cool thing. Brunswick County is updating their land use plan, just like we are going to do bits and pieces of ours. And they're looking for input, and they have a firm that's going out and surveying people and having informational meetings and focus groups and everything. The survey's online, and I encourage everybody to look into it. The county webpage has links and everything to it. So put your input there. We are Southport citizens, but we're also Brunswick County citizens, and there's services that the county's gonna provide for us that if we wanna have what they do and where it goes, then we, participate. The reason I bring it up, not only is it important for us to participate in that survey, but it also brings back to me the importance of strategic planning. And I really want us to, in the new year, find a way to sit down and discuss some strategic planning. What's the 5-year, 10-year goals for Southport? And we already know there's some immediate things that we need to get done, and some of it is, it'll facilitate things like the Up Your Arts group. We need an evidence room, a secure evidence room, I'm pretty sure still, and if we can afford to do it financially soon, then that should be one of our priorities. But that's an example of those plans and how do we pay for things and when do we pay for things and priorities. So I hope we can do some strategic planning and have a capital improvements plan that we all agree on soon. I look forward to working with Up Your Arts some more. And when we get that memorandum back from our attorney, I'm sure we'll be able to get that voted on. And I think that's it. I appreciate the financial report tonight. That's very beneficial, and it'll help us make some of those quick decisions on audio-visual evidence rooms, other things like that that we might be able to afford to do this budget year and not wait. So thank you all.
Thank you for those excellent comments. Mr. Lombardi.
Yes, I would also like to congratulate Up Your Arts for their successful outdoor concert. My wife and I were there. We sat outside the car in the nice fresh air, heard the music, had some good conversation, and I think everybody enjoyed it. Job well done.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm looking forward to a successful relationship with the county on the sewer, but I also want to make sure that citizens of Southport are aware of some of what we discussed at the October 16th meeting. It was a specially called sewer meeting because it was a special meeting. There wasn't much attendance, so I just want to make sure because there was a very important difference in what the county, Brunswick County Commissioners were offering the city as far as terms. In January of this year, our newly elected mayor and board reached out. When we reached out to the county, we believed that that it would be a simple process of just resuming the previously negotiated contract with the terms the county had previously offered the city. Unfortunately, the Brunswick County Commissioners would not agree to one of those terms, which would have allowed Southport to retain its designated sewer district. Why would this been important to Southport to retain our district? It's at least twofold. The same discussion that suggests the city of Southport should join the county treatment facility, economies of scale. As Southport grows and we expand our sewer infrastructure long term, the service becomes more affordable. Secondly, the only carrot Southport has to offer new development in a state that only allows volunteer annexation is our sewer. And without a designated sewer district, as development continues outside of our city limits, this future development will be using, of course, Southport's infrastructure, sidewalks, roads, our city parks and facilities, and those properties, if they do not choose to annex into Southport, will not be contributing any taxes to help maintain our resources. So the limited number of actual Southport taxpayers within the existing city limits, approximately less than 4 square miles, will continue to have the sole responsibility to maintain the city now and mostly into the future. So over time, a future that most certainly could result in higher and higher taxes for the small base of taxpayers in Southport to meet the ever-growing demands of the development outside of the city limits, utilizing our infrastructure and facilities. It's interesting that most Southport citizens are surprised to learn that Robert Ruark and Jabbertown Road are not within the Southport city limits and do not pay city taxes. And without going too much on, I think it's important for the citizens of Southport to know that the contract with the county was different than was originally offered, and we asked to retain the extraterritorial jurisdiction, which is the 1 mile immediately bordering our city limits as a sewer district, but we were unable to, the county was unable to give us that. So I am hopeful that the county commissioners will reconsider outside of our agreement and reinstate a sewer district for Southport. Then, touching what Alderman Sharkey said about the survey, This is awesome, y'all. This is our opportunity. Yesterday, I also attended a different session than Laura attended to learn about it. And what this is Brunswick County Planning and Parks and Recreation Departments are working on 2 new plans. The county comprehensive land use plan, like our CAMA land use plan, that's what they're working on for the county, and a Parks and Recreation master plan. Together, these 2 new plans will guide the future growth decisions and investments in infrastructure and services within Brunswick County for the next 20 years. As citizens of Southport, we also pay county taxes, and it is important that we participate in this process. This project will determine what Brunswick County identifies as priorities for the next 20 years, determine where Brunswick County will build parks and recreation facilities, and identify future community partnership opportunities. The Blueprint Brunswick 2040 Public Input Survey is now open. The survey consists of 28 questions and only takes about 20 minutes to complete. You can go online and respond to the survey at www.blueprintbrunswick2040.com, or you can simply go to our city website. Our public information officer has put that on the city website, and you can look at the home page under public notices and latest news and click on the county seal, and it will take you directly to the survey. And so we have until January 1st to participate, and it is important to the future of our community that we all take time to fill out the survey. So please put that on your list.
Thank you. That's an important project and important survey. And I apologize, I did not mention staff reports. They're in your packet. Make sure you've read them. Does staff have any addition to those reports at this time? So thank you for doing those, and we appreciate your work. This has been an excellent meeting. I want to thank everyone for being here. A lot of great topics discussed. Again, we are moving forward as a city. There is a pandemic. There may be social unrest. There may be political unrest. But in Southport, we are going to move forward. We're going to remember how thankful we are and how blessed we are to be here. And if we all work together, we will do great things. So thank you for being here. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I have a motion for the meeting to be adjourned. Second. All right. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.